The picture took about 28 days to shoot.
Parker. Oh, pardon me. Any minute, wait. Don't stop. There you go, okay.
There were some locations in Mendocino, beautiful locations, which we couldn't afford to stay in very long, so we shot the heck out of them. Anything that looks offbeat is shot in Mendocino. Anything that doesn't look offbeat was shot in Griffith Park. There's one scene where Belinda runs from Mendocino to Griffith Park to Cahuenga Boulevard, because that's where the stage was. We had a production designer named Bob Burns, who had been the production designer on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But he brought a certain queasiness to the props and stuff that we had. The idea of Marsha's cabin and the way she lived, and with dead animal skins and bones and stuff. I mean, Bob just ate that stuff up. A very talented guy, and just very outre and just really perfect for our needs.
Okay, guys, this is it. I'll keep the transmitter open.
When Dee walked into the porno shop, the unease and discomfort that you see was real. She literally couldn't look at anything. And it was a real porno store. We just went in and shot. I mean, the stuff was all real hardcore porn, and it's on the shelves, and it's not dwelt upon, so you really don't notice it. But she was like right up against them, and it was hard for her. She didn't like that.
That was a hard scene for me. It's a hard scene, first of all, just because of the place we were shooting it. And, I'm from Kansas. I am.
We cheesed it up a little, maybe even cheesier with colored lights and pink lights and so forth. We just had to hide the things that you couldn't put in a movie, so lots of little pieces of tape and price tags on the appropriate parts.
We did need to project something in the booth when she went in there, and it obviously couldn't be real hardcore pornography. It had to be handled in a certain way. So we realized the best thing to do would be shoot it ourselves. Mike Fennell and I went into my garage and shot a 16mm fake porno movie. In fact, we shot two. There's one where she's in bed, and then there's one where she's on the top of a car. And it's not explicit, but it's fairly rough. And it was kind of uncomfortable doing it. It wasn't like a lot of fun. You'd think it would be, but it wasn't. It was kind of creepy. And then we, scratched up the film and dragged it from the back of a truck and all that kind of thing, and made it look like it'd been run through the porno booth 100 times. And it was pretty convincing. I mean, it looks pretty much like the kind of stuff you used to see.
Marker.
John Hora has a lighting style that sometimes looks like Japanese paintings. And he was very knowledgeable about, Greg Toland and Stanley Cortez and styles and, what we wanted.
What we mostly had to do was take a few lights back behind trees and backlight fog, so it sort of gave the presence of something. The poor prop guy had to run back and forth through every scene at the beginning with these fog machines laying it in. When we were shooting that, I was also figuring that when we got on the stage, we could easily imitate that same look, so that would give a continuity to all that.
It was our secret, we'll be safe.
If you've got areas of shadow and you suggest what might be there, the audience, number one, their mind is active. They're actually participating because they're filling in. And secondly, they fill it in a way that's the most frightening to them. So it's better not to see.
If a movie's not really in color, it should be in black and white. If you don't use the color, then it's just there. And so we wanted this to be a color movie as opposed to a movie that was in color.
Just watch.
At the end of the movie, all the members of the colony are turning into werewolves. We thought that it would make sense that some of them, because they're turning into werewolves, they would have taken their clothes off, or their clothes would be ripped off, or whatever.
I walked into the barn and I looked up, and there were about 10 ladies with their boobs hanging out. And I went, okay, what the hell is this?
You make me sick.
I said, I'm not shooting this. The crew was laughing. Now, when the crew's laughing at 10 women with their boobs hanging out, you've gone over the line. I said, I'm not doing it. So they called Dan Blatt. Half an hour later, you hear his car coming through the farm, right? He goes and pulls up and goes, gets out, slams the door, walks in, looks up, and he goes, she's right, it's stupid. Put some clothes on him. Gets back out, gets in his car, and leaves.
Don't let him bite you. He'll turn into an asshole.
Joe's so tongue-in-cheek, I mean, he's so sarcastic and so funny.
Switch, damn it, switch! Doesn't that look good?
We're in the looping stage, and Joe said,
You know, we got a kind of a dead spot right before you pull the thing out of your brain.
and I said, well, what do you want me to do? He says, well,
What would you say right before you pull something out of your, you pull a bullet out of your head? What would you say before?
and I go,
I want to give you a piece of my mind.
as a joke, expecting him to laugh. He goes,
Okay, do that.
which is how so many of Joe's classic moments come about. He goes,
All right, do it.
Joe's philosophy is they'll be more scared if you take them by surprise.
Get out of here.
If you make them laugh, and then all of a sudden something jumps out at you.
I didn't hear anything so funny anyway. Oh, Jesus.
You're caught off guard, you're going to be more scared. And also, if there isn't something to laugh at, in a movie as ridiculous as a werewolf movie, the audience is going to find something to laugh at.
Ginsberg's howl on the table and all of the visual jokes that he packed the frame with.
I find it interesting to comment on the movie within the movie. I mean, while you're watching it, so that you get the experience of watching the movie, but you also get a sort of an editorial judgment on what the filmmakers think of the movie and the material.
La mujer se cambió en un lobo. Hijo.
There was this thing called the smiley face at the time. Everywhere you went, there were these smiley faces. And it was just nauseating. And it seemed to me that this smiley face phenomenon needed to be put in its place. So we decided to use it as the emblem of the serial killer that we had in the movie. I mean, it was made to be an emblem for a serial killer.
Joe loves movies. He absolutely loves movies. I mean, you can't go to his house without him sitting you down and showing you a screening of something or another, usually a Michael Powell movie or something, some oldie but goodie. He's just one of those people, He spent most of his life watching television and storyboarding everything he could.
Joe is one of the first, movie brat directors who knows so many movies that it's effortless for him to refer to them in his work.
Larded throughout the movie, there are these references to other pictures that, if you do them wrong, kind of slow up the movie, because all of a sudden things are happening on the screen that half the audience is going, what's that mean? So the trick is to bury them within the picture so that they're only there for people who happen to be able to spot them, and if they don't, then the movie's still going on its own.
Almost every character in the movie is named after a director of a werewolf movie. George Wagner with the Patrick McNee character. The head of the TV station, played by Kevin McCarthy, is Fred Francis, who is Freddie Francis.
Let's pause now for an editorial from our general manager, Fred W. Francis.
And Lou Landers is the anchorman.
The KDHB news team began working.
The John Carradine character is Earl Kenton, who directed an old werewolf movie. So, yeah, it was a real inside kind of thing.
The cameos by Joe's former employer.
Okay, mister, it's all yours.
Roger was legendarily parsimonious, and that was sort of a joke for all of us people who used to work for Roger, and he was good enough to go along with it, and that's fine. But it does stop the movie. People wonder, well, why is the shot hanging on this guy looking for change? He's not a character in the movie. So it's really, I don't encourage that kind of thing, but when it was Roger, I couldn't help myself.
Please, you're going to purchase.
The editor of Famous Monsters of Filmland is in the movie, Forrest J. Ackerman, who's, of course, carrying his ubiquitous copy of his own magazine, which he tended to do.
One of the things that I liked the best was just the way Joe handled the satire at the local news station.
A Guyana-like spectacle.
That there is this very concerned public face about, we're doing a public service here, and this is our brave reporter putting her life on the line, at the same time that their eye is on the ratings.
Well, we're going to make ratings history tonight. You're going to be the cynosure of all eyes.
They really want it to be good television, no matter who gets killed.
Boy, she seems shaky.
Looks fine to me.
It is her job as a reporter to say this thing is out there, it's a big danger.
But I have proof, and tonight I'm going to show you something.
But also there's the possibility that it's wasted. So that even something as big as, oh my God, they've discovered werewolves, and we just saw a woman turn into a werewolf on TV.
What is this?
Some of the reactions are, oh, that's a special effect, they're just fooling around.
Things they do with special effects these days.
But some of them are, yeah, so what's next? Entertain me again.
What are you kids watching?
The news lady's turned into a werewolf.
It just gets eaten up into the media. It's a big deal for 1 week, and then the next Monday, well, what are the numbers?
I saw pictures just like we saw in Israel.
Humanity.
dead. Pino Donaggio was an Italian composer, did not speak English. And the way that we scored that movie, because we had very little money, was that, and I've never done it this way since, thank God, but we flew him over from Italy, sat down at the Moviola and spotted the movies, and we had actually Paul Bartel, who's a director and a friend of ours, speak Spanish, and Pino speaks Spanish, and so they would speak Spanish at each other, which of course it's not their first language, so it was kind of a translation of a translation, but managed to get through it. And then Pino went back to Italy and recorded the score and mailed it to us.
You took what you got from Pino because that was all there was. However, he did luck into the use of this massive church organ that he had found, and he, I think, planned the whole score around this organ. And it's a terrific score.